Hey, what's going on, people? Jack Reeve here, just checking in before this podcast. I hope you all really enjoy this. Months and months of hard work have gone into not only making this happen, but trying to make the best of what is a really good opportunity. I just want to say a few thank yous before we get into this. I want to thank Chris for all of his hard work. A lot of his hard work doesn't go on screen, it goes on behind the scenes, so big up to him. Big up to Connor Southwell as well, who's put in a lot of hard work for TalkNorwichCity while both me and Chris have been working full time, and he's been smashing it out the park as well. Big up to my mum, who constantly supports her son talking into a camera, which is a slightly odd thing to do with his life. Big shout out to my girlfriend Jen for putting up with a boyfriend who talks about Dennis Sabreni on YouTube. And thank you to Angus for giving up an hour and a half, 2 hours of his time when I'm sure he had something better to be doing. Also, Credo Asset Finance, one of our sponsors, have a really cool deal. Links in the description. Basically, you can get 50 quid off if you finance something with them. It's a really cool deal. They've supported me from the very beginning, so thank you to them. I hope you really enjoy the podcast. There is a few clicks through the podcast. It's basically, we had a photographer there, Ryan Mason. You can see the images on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram throughout the next few weeks. And his shutter was quite loud, so you might be able to hear that. There's quite a bit at the start, but then not too much near the end. I hope you really enjoy this. Thank you so much for all of your support. I genuinely do mean this. This is a big one for us. Please support it, please like it, please share it. If you think someone will like it, share it with them. If you know a Manchester City fan, share it with them. Thank you so much. Enjoy this. This is the TNC podcast with Angus Gunn. Hello and welcome back to the TNC podcast. I hope you're all well. We promised you a big episode in episode 50. It's not episode 50, it's episode number 48. We've come up with the goods early, introducing Norwich City's #1 goalkeeper and England international. It's Mr. Angus Gunn. Angus, it is a pleasure, my friend, to have you along. Not probably the biggest guest, quite literally.
Yeah,
You've helped block the light on the Wes Hoolahan glass, which is always helpful. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Obviously not been a good week, but you know, looking into the future now, and hopefully we can get a good result on the weekend.
I love that. Looking forward, all of the while. I mean, it's been quite the journey, hasn't it, for you? Let's sort of start from the start. Born in Norwich, grown up in Norwich City fan. I think it's fair to say that. Early memories from sort of the club and starting out as a real youngster. I suppose you are still a youngster, but a real youngster.
Yeah, no. When I sort of obviously was coming to the football club since I was a baby, really. Obviously my dad playing, I think I was probably 2 when I came to my first game, something like that. I don't remember it. But, you know. He was talking about it the other day, I think. So
there's that lovely picture of you and your dad. Is in the gun club, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of you as sort of the kid looking up.
Yeah.
Looking up to the
looking at this picture, yeah. Yeah, no, I can't remember too much of those days, but I remember going to sort of mini kickers at Pine Banks with my Norwich kit and all that stuff. And then just like going to away games when I was growing up, teenager, you know, with some of my mates. Chris was probably there a few times.
Ipswich away.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah,
Ipswich away. Talk about that one.
Yeah, no, I don't think we won. That was probably the last time we lost, to be honest.
Maybe.
But yeah, no. And then obviously get into the academy. I think I was about 8, and then made it all the way through and played sort of internationally, like under 16, and then moved on. So no, it was good.
I mean, didn't you join Norwich as an outfield player? Am I right in saying that?
Not technically. I was like 8-year-old, and like that's when you start trialling for the actual academy places. So I was trialling as an outfielder, and that's when I think someone got injured and I went in goal, in a trial session, and I ended up being alright. And then they said, "Oh, next time bring your gloves." So that sort of came from there, really.
I mean, Chris, we're probably sat here talking about football because our professional careers failed somewhat. This man has literally lived the journey, lived the dream of a Norwich City fan, hasn't he?
Well, happy days, isn't it? I think it's better that he's a Norwich fan. Or is it? Or does it mean too much? Does it put too much pressure on?
No, I don't think so. I think it does change a little bit when you become a professional footballer. Obviously, you're a fan growing up, teenage years. Even when you're in the academy, you're a fan. But then when you become sort of professional, it's there's something on the games, and that there's a lot more pressure on it, and I think you have to change a little bit because you can't. If I was still a fan and on the pitch, I'd probably be knocking some of the other players out and shouting at our own players.
There's still been a few badge pants, which
obviously,
we appreciate.
Yeah, during the game you've got to focus, but after the games you've got to show your passion and your love for the team. But it is a little bit different when you're on the pitch playing.
See, I remember when we beat Ipswich 5-1 at home. Grant Holt scored that incredible hat-trick, and me and you stood up in the upper bar at the end of the game, giving it large to the Ipswich fans.
Yeah.
Do you feel like sometimes you have to hold yourself back, to potentially, the opposition supporters, or?
No, not really. I can't remember too many.
You've
times.
got that out of the system now.
Yeah, I think obviously Ipswich away was one of the, probably one of the best moments that I've had in football so far.
Wow, you've had a lot of good moments.
Just from a sort of personal point of view.
Yeah.
Winning there 1-0 win, that was unbelievable feeling, and sort of turning around to the crowd and saying goodbye. that was a great feeling.
And more importantly, the celebrations with the Norwich fans.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I went back into the change room, but I was itching to come back out and onto the pitch, but I didn't want to look stupid or something like that. But I was just in the dressing room just buzzing, and that was probably one of the best days I've had in football.
Talk to me to sort of the lead up to that game, because it came fairly on in the season, didn't it? And we'd had a sort of sticky start to the season. What's going through your head in the lead up to Derby Day? Because as fans, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because we want it to, there's excitement, but it's sort of dreaded with nerves as well. What's the lead up as a player? Is it kind of a standard?
No, I can't remember our build up to that game the week before. I don't know what our results were, but I remember we obviously had Arsenal in the cup like 2 days later, which was
a tough turnaround.
Yeah, some would say stupid, timetable, but we sort of I don't know if we had a good run coming into that game, but you just got to throw it a window and just. I think we had that was probably our first week build up into a game from the start of the season, because you obviously play Saturday, Tuesday. That was probably our first free week, I think, and we had a good week training, and everything sort of fell into place. We didn't have a great performance, but we got the job done, and that was the main thing for the supporters, I think.
I want to go back a bit to sort of while you're still at Norwich City. Did you ever expect to leave? Was sort of that Manchester City route in the plan or not?
I can't remember really having a plan, to be honest. Like when I was younger, obviously things happened with my dad and the club, and he sort of part company with them, so didn't really have any other ties to the club, which would have probably kept me here for longer, I'd say. But obviously when you're playing internationally from a young age, there's obviously scouts watching, and there's always people like talking to your families and everything like that. So it was just one of those things. I think playing for England put me on the map a little bit in terms of some of the bigger clubs, and there was like other options as well. So we got to sort of go around and choose, and we ended up at Man City.
I mean, it must be quite a scary sort of adventure almost, being a young footballer, because although you've been rated highly from sort of a very young age, there's been a lot of players in a similar position that have either been released or picked up injuries, and it hasn't quite worked out. And it's probably fair to say now you have got to that stage where it's all good, but that sort of stage from 16 to 21 for a lot of players can be really kind of troublesome, can't it?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously when I was that age, I didn't really think too much about that, but obviously my family would have known more about that, and obviously it was a big risk leaving Norwich and going to Man City, but
it's paid off.
It paid off in the end, and they took the plunge on me, and I just sort of went along with it really, and it came off, and here we are again in Norwich. So it's funny how the world works.
I mean, in terms of an education, they're probably not much better than Manchester City, is there? And especially with the setup they've got there now. Things have probably changed quite a bit since when you first joined.
When I first went, it was only the process of obviously the new training campus at the Etihad. So that was probably one of the things they sort of sold to me when I was going to look at the club and stuff like that. So I've seen sort of the transition from there was Platt Lane in Manchester and Carrington. They had two different ones for the academy and the senior team. So I trained at them both, and then moving into the Etihad campus probably 3 years ago now. It was unbelievable, and just to see it all going up like it did, it just went up like that. To be honest, it didn't start building when I first went there, and to look at it now, it's just it's unbelievable, and it's a great place to go every day and train.
I mean, you're all now regarded as one of the best keepers in the Championship, an established Norwich City keeper. But Chris, let's not forget, when we were talking on this podcast last summer, John Ruddy had just left. We were thinking, well, who's going to be the next keeper? Is it Remy Matthews? And then Angus' names comes up.
Yeah.
I mean, you hadn't played a professional game until that point, had you? Some people were saying, well, this probably isn't the right move.
I think it was more. I think there was a lot of senior journos about that were kind of pooing their pants a bit. To be honest, I think particularly our friend Michael Bailey was very worried. But I was nervous. Don't get me wrong, I was nervous. I was worried because it's Angus. If it's someone else conceding the goals, I'm like, oh, it's all right, But I think it's worked tremendously well. Had such a good season, and to be up there, in the top 10 in terms of keeping clean sheets, you've cost me a fair bob in Nando's mind.
He owes you a lot of Nando's, by the way. He's come up with that bet, and didn't you pay for the last one?
No, he did pay.
I insisted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did.
So there's only 12 to go then.
I think it's gone up to Middleton's now. I think we're going big time.
I think we can. It's probably got to the point where we can just call it a day.
It's embarrassing. Yeah. It's too much.
I think one more Nando's. I'll accept that.
What is the Nando's order?
For me, I used to be. I didn't really go, and now I go quite regularly because there's not too many places in Norwich, to be honest. But that's another thing. So now I have a chicken wrap with halloumi inside. And
what spice are you going for?
I like mango, so a bit of mango. Okay. I'm not a spicy guy.
I'm going to get you in trouble here, though, potentially with Daniel Farker. So, what dessert did you order that day, Mr. Gunn?
What did I? Probably
you ordered a box of.
Brownies.
A box of brownies.
Nando's?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
That was a takeaway.
A box of brownies.
Yeah.
Mind you, I think we had one a game before.
Yeah.
So I'll let you off.
Yeah. But the brownies from Nando's are very nice.
Peri
I think I got
brownies?
4. No, not peri peri. They're just normal. But I got 4 and I took them all home.
Oh.
Probably ate 3 of them.
Happy days. Give one to the dog.
No.
We'll be giving dog brownies.
Dogs can't have chocolate. Especially my one.
Oh, bless. This is taking a strange twist. Let's go back to the summer. Ruddy leaves. We're still in the Championship. When does the call come, and what's going through your mind at that point? Because it must be a big decision.
I think they obviously made the decision with John quite early. I think before the end of the season, didn't they? Because obviously had a few farewell games.
Of course, yeah.
So I think they were sort of planning to sort of change it before the end of the season, and there was a few phone calls probably before the end of that. And then as the summer went on, it sort of became more concrete offer. But obviously at the point they didn't have a manager, so it was probably a difficult one for myself. But with it being Norwich, if it was probably any other club, I probably wouldn't have done it with no manager. But because it was Norwich, I thought, I know the place, I know the most of the players, and just coming back here,
I couldn't
resist it, and I think the transition probably would have been much easier for me to come back here to say going somewhere else. So that was probably the main thinking behind.
So there was never really a thought in your mind that thought, no, this isn't for me.
No, not at all. Even without a manager, I thought I 100% thought Norwich City straight away. So
good answer.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. To be honest.
Why? Why? Because I suppose from an outlook, you're going from Manchester City, arguably one of the biggest clubs in the world, to a mid-table Championship club with no manager. What pulled you back?
Well, obviously I'd never played a game, a league game, so the other options I had were in the Championship as well. So I looked at the options, and Norwich were probably up there equally with any other team. So I thought for me it was the best place to come, and the team I supported growing up, it couldn't really resist it really.
And sort of the transition as a whole, Chris, we look back to the summer, we're kind of all a bit used to it now, but for fans it was a lot to get our head around, wasn't it? Because we'd kind of gone down the same route of the similar kind of managers, the similar kind of recruitment policy, and then Webber comes in, Farke comes in, it all comes at once. A lot was happening, wasn't it, at that point in the summer?
I mean, full stop, Jack. I think that it's maybe potentially one of the things that fans possibly have taken for granted this season, that we have literally ripped the heart and soul out of this football club and started again. And I think particularly that's why Angus has worked, because he knows the club inside out. He knows what it means to supporters when we're playing Ipswich Town. So you know, thank God that happened. But yeah, I mean, look, there's just so much that's gone on behind the scenes. From, you know, the manager, Stuart Webber, the toilet cleaners, everything's changed. So, you know, I'm very, very optimistic for next season, given that now this structure, this philosophy, as I say, the new club structure has had time to settle and to mature. So I'm hopeful for next season.
And then Angus, when manager did come, and it came in the form of Daniel Farke, probably hasn't suited all the players, but for you, in terms of the style he plays, it must be brilliant, because you for a goalkeeper, like the ball at your feet, and that has worked really nicely this season.
Yeah, no, well, to be honest, like with the sort of negotiations, they did say that they wanted to go down that route already, so I think whatever manager they would have chosen, it would have been, you know, to change the style of football anyway, so yeah, it has definitely suited me, and it's been a big plus for me, because obviously my parent club, you know, like that style of football as well, and ultimately, you know, my biggest aim is to get in their first team. So to come out and get the experience like I have this season, it's been a big boost for me, and probably unlike some other championship teams that play a bit more direct style, it's definitely suited me more. Yeah.
So I'm going to come in just a little bit earlier on one of these later questions here, Angus, because it leads quite nicely onto that. You speak about your ultimate aim being in the Manchester City first team.
Yeah.
Can you, or do you know, your kind of short-term, medium-term and long-term goals in football? Obviously long-term, you've clarified Man City first team, but short-term, what are you up to? Medium-term, what are you up to?
I think short-term, like at the start of the season, I just sort of aimed to play as many games as possible, to be honest. And just do as well as I possibly can in each one and take it from there. I didn't really want to set myself too many goals and too many statistics to reach, because then I think you probably work yourself up if you're not reaching them, and it's probably bogs you down a little bit. So short term, I was just wanted to play as many games, and then medium term, I don't know. I think. After the season, I'll have to sort of sit down and review and then sort of plan ahead. But I think in football you can't really look too far, because anything can happen. One day you could be playing for Norwich, the next day you can be playing for Man City. If someone gets injured, so it's just like it happens so quickly. Everything does. So
is it too cheeky to say a short-term goal could be England in the summer? Are you off to Russia, Angus, if something goes wrong?
I hope not. Too many hooligans out there, mate.
Yeah, it's dangerous out there.
A bit lively, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't think so, but you never know, to be honest. Obviously, I had the call earlier in the year. After one of the friendly games, someone got injured, and obviously I was already with the 21, so I think that was probably an easier option for them. And yeah, no, I'd never say never, but obviously there's 3 goalkeepers that I'd say are definitely going to Russia at the moment, and obviously anything can happen if anyone gets injured, but I don't think so. I'm not sure.
Get him on the plane.
I mean, we're speaking of that call-up. It was quite a memorable night for me and you as well, Chris, wasn't it? Because we were out in Norwich, in Spoons, Queen of Iceni, classic. And I think, actually, there was a screen on the wall. I'm not overly sure why, but they were playing ITV Anglia, big up to ITV Anglia, and we saw Angus Gunn called up to national team. Yeah. And I ran over to Chris, who I think was getting in my drink, and I was like, Angus has been called up for the first team, the national team. Yeah. And we were buzzing, weren't we? It made our night.
Shit, the pints were going.
I mean, it's tough to have
pints
a good night.
Flying at that point. Yeah.
But on that night, because of you, Angus.
There you go. Happy days.
Probably the same as me. I was watching TV and it just came up.
I hope not with a pint.
No. Just in a hotel room.
A protein shake.
Yeah, no, I was actually in the Ukraine, so
it's interesting that I want to ask you about that England call-up, actually, and your experience with kind of that first team at St George's Park, and also you speak about the facilities at the Etihad, and obviously something that's at the forefront of discussion at Norwich at the moment is the Colney development. Kind of what was St George's Park like in terms of how good is it, and how can Norwich bridge that gap from from Colney to St George's Park or to something that Manchester City have got.
Yeah.
Is it realistic for Norwich City to have something like that?
Yeah, but at the same time, I think it's a little bit different. Obviously, St George's Park is a base for players to go for periods of time, sort of training, before their games. Sort of say probably generally it's like 4 or 5 days, but then they have to travel down to London, and they I think they work from the Tottenham training base as well when they're down there. So it's a little bit different in that point of view, but I think it's definitely essential now, in sort of academy football and senior football as well, to have the facilities to sort of take everyone. At the moment in Norwich, we've got a gym, probably
conservatory.
Yeah, conservatory gym, which is small for one team, let alone say 18s, 23s in the first team. So
especially with Christoph Zimmermann, he's a unit, isn't he? He can barely fit in there.
Yeah, he is a beast.
What was he squatting?
I don't know. He's squatting. I know he benches at least 120. I think.
Oh my.
Does he?
He benches 120.
Yeah, he benches 100, like a good 10 reps.
That is goals right there,
Chris.
90 tops.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'm a weakling.
The thing with Christoph was though, didn't he have quite a serious virus, and he's out there the next week just battling on?
Yeah, well, I didn't see him for. I think it was about a week he was away for, and I think something ridiculous like 4 or 5 kg he lost.
Wow!
In the time he was away, literally, he looked like a different person.
Wow!
So he was only benching 90.
Yeah, something like
90.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually know what it was because they just obviously kept him away from us. But the difference that he looked like when he came back was just crazy. So I don't know what he had, but
who is the best in the gym? Because when Jamal Lewis first broke into the team,
I'm so pleased you brought this up.
Everyone was astounded by the size of that man's legs.
We talk about it far too much.
Really?
The man before that
was
Yannick Vilchka. He seemed to have some serious legs on him.
Yeah, he did.
Jamal Lewis.
Really?
He must be doing so many leg extensions. He must be smashing it. Have you not noticed the size of his legs?
No.
You probably don't look. Me and Jack are fixated by them.
No, I'm not. But yeah, I think obviously Zimbo is probably probably the best in the gym. I'd say he's in there probably every day, doing something different. But he loves bench press.
He looks like he loves bench press.
He's a monster.
Are you ever slightly intimidated by them two centre backs in front of you? Because the mixture of Grant Hanley and Tim Close at times this season have scared me, and I'm about 100 yards from them. I mean, I did see Hanley completely obliterate a linesman earlier in the season. That man is something else.
Yeah, no, it doesn't scare me. It makes me obviously
at ease.
Yeah, relax me a little bit, because obviously when you see him, going for a 50-50 with a guy, you don't expect him to lose. And I think it was.
Don't expect it. It doesn't happen. Yeah, it's factual, Angus.
I think it was against Forest. I think he played against a young lad, and I think he just absolutely bullied him the whole game.
Yeah.
And I was thinking I wouldn't like to be that guy.
Wasn't he bullying someone in the under-21s game?
That was my highlight.
Getting to the
That's
team.
probably my highlight, possibly of the season. Obviously, Ipswich away is up there, but I think Grant hadn't made an appearance to the first team at this point because it was slightly slow because we were so solid at the back.
Yeah.
So I went. I think it was a Saturday afternoon, beautiful sun. I think it was against Blackburn under-21s, and Grant's at the back. I hadn't seen much of him up until this point, and he must have been 18, 19-year-old striker. He wasn't at the best of games. The referee's turned his back and running away, and Grant's just thrown an elbow in on this young striker.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a beautiful sight to see.
No comment.
Did he get caught?
No, he didn't get caught. It was
Why'd you bring it up?
Well, it's gone now. It's fine. This season, then, Angus, I suppose we've got to talk about it. I think the playoffs are probably gone now, and the automatics definitely are. I've been holding on to it desperately this season. My mum even had a bet on us to go up this season, so unfortunately she's lost her pound each way bet. It's been an interesting one, hasn't it? The transition's probably taken a little longer than some expected. Mm-hmm. Although, if you're a neutral, it's probably exactly where people thought we would have been this season. From being there week in, week out at the forefront of things. Yeah. How's it been?
It's been strange. Like I said, I think at some points we looked, like we had a good chance. Some points we looked like we were out of it, and then, we called it back a little bit, and then, it's sort of fallen away a little bit again now. But I think it's been difficult during the season to sort of, we didn't really have too many. We had ambitions, obviously, but we came in at the start of the season and said we're not the favourites to go up, and probably we're not the favourites to get to the playoffs, but we want to have an unbelievable season as a close knit team, and we've had a lot of changes in the team, a lot of sort of new players to the Championship, sort of foreign players, which takes time I think to settle, and it's probably taking its toll overall in the season, and it's not been good enough, but I think the signs are there that next season can be a much better one.
It's interesting you say there, Angus, that you don't think it's been good enough. Chris, at points this season, it's been really good, hasn't it? And then at other points, it hasn't been quite so good. From a fan's point of view, we're at the stage of the season now where there's little to play for. What has your reflection been?
To be honest with you, I've tried my best to remain level-headed at all times. Although I have got carried away on numerous occasions. Apologies about that. I thought our run of games where our win away at Middlesbrough, our win away at Reading, beating Ipswich, those games got me very excited and optimistic, and gave me genuine belief that we could do it. I think Angus is right in highlighting the fact that we've had a lot of foreign players come into the squad. English isn't their first language for one, and two, you think about Daniel Farker as well. He's only just come into the English game, so there's been so many things going on. For me this season, right now, I'm disappointed where we are. I can't hide that. I am, and Angus will say the same thing, I'm sure. I believe that this team is good enough to be in and around the playoffs. I think Angus is right in saying we're a close-knit team. It's very evident on the pitch that the team are close and together. I just think we've just had too many things to do. It's just been one season that you think about some squads, some football teams in the Premier League, the Championship. The only thing that happens all summer is they change the manager once, or they change just a couple of outfield players. Even we've had so much change that's gone on. So my personal reflection is I'm disappointed, but at the same time I'd say it's been a 6, 7 out of 10 season, because I'm disappointed. But there's been some great memories still. Beating Ipswich in their own back garden again, not that it's that difficult. Beating, see, I love the fact you're still laughing at that. You can't hide it. And as I say, those away games were absolutely brilliant. But I think for me, it's about next season already. I've already, to be honest, I want the season over, because I crave the optimism and hunger and the excitement of a new season. I think that the fans need to have a rest, because I think they're just exhausted by it.
This, Angus.
Well, for me, it's just. I mean, my personal frustration at the moment is I think that games are going stale. I think we are asserting ourselves in the first half quite nicely, and it's going well. But I just see us in the second half not take a step back necessarily, but maybe we're letting them come into it a wee bit more. And I think that next season we'll see ourselves carry out the full 90 minutes, personally.
I'm glad you brought up, Angus, there about being close-knit, because it's really interesting to see. We are where we are in the league, yet, as you said, Chris, there's been a lot of memorable moments this season. The Player of the Season votes came out last week, and there's arguably 4-5 players you could vote for considering we are where we are. That's surprising. Often the toughest thing for a football club going through transition is to get that close-knit squad. You see so many teams just bring so many new players in, which doesn't work. That must be pleasing for you to have a group that are so close-knit despite going through so many tough patches this season.
Yeah, I think it comes from just everyone having respect for each other, really. Obviously there's times in the season where the players fall out or have a disagreement and change room. It's normal, but I think if you can come in the next day and sort of shake hands, have a hug it out, and
is that the key to life? Just hugging it out?
Sometimes, but everyone's sort of respects each other, and I think that's the main thing, really. And we've got a good working relationship with us and all the staff, and I think that is obviously a massive thing going forward for the club, and hopefully that can carry on next season.
You say they're a massive respect for each other. That doesn't come easy. That's not at all football clubs. How do you develop that respect? How do you develop that trust for your teammates? Because you've said that there so freely, but I think that's quite a good trait to have, and not an easy one to have.
Possibly. I think just sort of working hard with each other every day. we have tough sessions, and if you've got 23 players training hard every day, then it sort of rubs off on each other, and I think that's a big thing for us this season. Obviously, the training grounds being a sort of vibrant place, even if we've not got a good result, the next day we're always in the training ground working hard, and I think if it carries on, we'll have a good squad, and hopefully the team can go forward.
We've spoke here about memorable moments this season. It's just popped into my head. It's Bristol City away. It's about 90 minutes on the clock. We're 1-0 up, and I'm not sure who it was, but collects the ball 6 yards out, open goal. We're thinking, it's going to be a long trip home now. Along comes Angus. Talk me through that save, because it was one of the most outrageous things I've ever seen on a football pitch. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was just. I think that was a really tough game in the second half. Obviously, Mad has popped up again with another great goal, and they were putting the pressure on like pretty much the whole second half, and then they ended up putting Big Flint up front, and that was a tough one to deal with. And I think he really nicked it at the front post, and Zimbo got a great block in. I think I went for that ball as well, and it sort of just fell somehow to their guy, and I've seen it just drop, and I thought, I don't know, I can swear, but crap, whatever. and I just sort of sprawled in as quick as I can, and just sort of flung myself. Really, I think there's a guy on the other side of the line who probably would have got it if he went that way. So. It just hit me, and
it wasn't lucky though. He's making it sound easy, but it wasn't.
My favourite moment about the whole thing, watching the highlights back, you even fooled the cameraman, because the cameraman's panned to the goal, expecting it to go in, and then suddenly panned back. I mean, that was a lovely thing to see. Other memorable moments this season, because you spoke there, Chris, Middlesbrough away, Ipswich away, Reading away. There's been some really great moments this season.
Sheffield United away.
You went down well with their fans, didn't you?
Yeah, that was a good game.
Talk to me about Sheffield United away, because we've seemed to kind of create a rivalry.
I don't know. Strange one, really, because obviously I think we got a good goal in the first half.
It was Yannick, wasn't it?
Yeah, Yannick got
our man Yannick.
Your favourite man.
Scored a good team goal in the first half, and they were obviously on. I think they was on a great run.
They were flying.
So it was one of the toughest places to go at that point, and they were putting the pressure on in the second half. And as you do as the away team, if you're 1-0 up, you sort of take your time and try and waste a few seconds, like most of the teams that come to Carrow Road do. And I don't think the Sheffield United fans liked it. So
time wasting or good game plan?
Yeah, you've got to be professional, and if you're under the cosh, you've got to sort of take the sting out of it a little bit. And
cheeky but legal.
Yeah, I think at one point I caught across and someone kneed me in the back or something like that, so I stayed down for a good 30 seconds or something, and I was like laying down facing all the supporters, and I just see all their faces raging. So I was just smiling. So.
Are you lapping that up, or is that an intimidating thing? Because I can imagine angry Northerners going at you.
Wasn't something thrown at you that game?
Yeah, I think I got a 20p and a Dr Pepper.
Oh, that's decent.
Yeah, so it was a good day.
Did you have a sip?
I was going to, and then I thought, there could be something a bit strange, and it was like half empty. So.
Oh yeah, you got to be careful.
20p though, that goes straight in the piggy bank, doesn't it?
I made sure that the ref got it, so...
Oh, you gave it to the ref?
Yeah, just to waste a bit more time.
Okay, a nice little tip.
So yeah, I think I gave them a wave after the game as well. So that was it was good.
And sent them home happy.
Yeah,
it's good to see. Chris, you've got some questions dotted about here.
Have I?
You sent them to me. You're like, Jack, get these in the agenda.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we can go a podcast. City's number one, son of Brian Gunn. First of all, do you like the song? Are you a fan of the chant?
Oh yeah.
Because actually it's probably the loudest chant that we've got this season.
Yeah, no, I do like it.
What is that like fans chanting your name, knowing that you were in the stands? Like,
yeah, no, it's unbelievable, and obviously during the game it's hard to sort of recognise it or whatever. But after the games and going to the away end or the Barclay after the games and hearing it, it's a great feeling. And but it only feels good when we win, so hopefully we can get a few more of them this season.
True.
I mean, that chant really started I think it was one of the London games, It might have even been the first game at Fulham on the boat. Is there been moments this season where you've been like, I just can't believe this is happening, this isn't real?
Yeah, I think it was Fulham because that was obviously the first game.
Yeah.
And I remember sort of hearing it. I think obviously not many of the guys knew it, so I don't think everyone was singing it, but I could hear it. So yeah, that was unbelievable feeling hearing that in my first game. And then I think after that it just sort of got bigger and bigger.
Leading on from that, of course, son of Brian Gunn. We can't go this podcast without talking about your old man. Unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about him a little bit. First of all, have you felt some pressure? Has your old man put a bit of unnecessary pressure on you this season? Not just him personally, but I think a lot of the Norwich old boys perhaps will remember your dad and will remember the fact that he headed the crossbar and pulled moonies and that kind of thing, right? So just talk a little bit about that. What has your dad brought in terms of both your footballing upbringing, but also in terms of has it had a bit of pressure on you? Have you thought, my old man was such a good keeper that I've got to be better than him?
Not really. I've not really thought about it too much. Obviously, there's parts of it you can't sort of ignore. Obviously going into the gun club or whatever and seeing all the pictures and mainly in sort of interviews, with whoever, they always ask me, "Oh, was your dad here? Or what would he have thought of that game?" Blah blah blah.
Is it annoying?
A little bit after a time.
Okay, we won't talk about it.
No, it's alright. It's just like it's normally the same sort of question, so it does get a bit annoying. But
so we'll do one last question on the BG, which is, has there been a piece of advice that he's passed down to you in terms of goalkeeping or life or football? Has there been one bit of advice where you can give him credit now?
I don't know. A bit of advice? No, not really. He's not really one for giving too much advice.
Does he just give you a bollocking when you do something wrong?
No, not really. Just pretty neutral. Really, doesn't really say too much. He just lets it. We get on with it with the coaches here, so it's probably the best way to do it. But I'd probably say the best piece of advice is probably from his dad. Obviously he's passed away now, but when I was sort of getting into the England youth teams, like he said to me, if you've got a chance to play for England or Scotland, then pick England. Because he said, because you'll make more money. So that's probably the biggest thing that I remember.
Oh, that's brilliant. And actually, that really nicely leads on. I can't.
You're good at this, Angus. Just
I can't not ask the question. It's hot on the agenda, which is, there's been some talk of Scotland. There's been some talk of England. Is it definitely England? Am I allowed to ask you that question? Is it 3 lines on your shirt, or are you going up to Hampden Park?
I've not really had any, anyone ask me directly, so I can't really, say that they've tried to sort of sway me. But obviously, I've seen a few stuff in the press or whatever, and obviously they're talking about it. But at the moment, I'm focused on England.
All made up there.
And obviously the 21s, I'm in the squad at the moment, and we've got a Euros in a year's time in Italy, so just focus on that really at the moment.
Good man. So the Flower of Scotland or God Save the Queen? Do you know both? Do you know both national anthems?
He's going to be home at practicing both of them tonight. It's a daily routine.
I know God Save the Queen. Obviously, it's pretty easy. It's quite short, isn't
it?
Yeah. And Flower of Scotland, I could probably say a couple of lines.
The start
of it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite a good anthem, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I went to see England. Well, we went to see England versus Scotland, and we absolutely trounced them. But the Flower of Scotland rang out around Wembley, and I've got a massive amount of respect for the Scottish fans actually, because they put up with some pretty horrendous results, don't they? Really.
Anthem you really need to know. There was On the Ball City, right?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Here's a question. Do the players know On the Ball City?
I think so.
If you said,
I think they probably all of them probably don't know it word for word, but they all know On the Ball City and probably the first few lines. and then there is a little bit in the middle where it's a bit
Yeah.
strange. So they probably don't.
Scrimmage.
Yeah. So they
okay.
probably don't get that bit, but I think they know most of it.
See, I think they should be forced at the start of the game to stand in a massive line and sing "On the Ball City" to the Regency security stand to fire them up a little bit. No, okay.
Talking about singing, as we're on that, strand, was there any initiations? What was your song of choice?
Oh,
at the
yeah.
start?
Yeah, there was. Like when we went to Germany in pre-season, we
Okay.
had the camp, and I think there was a lot of us like singing. I think even some of the staff maybe sang as well.
Wow.
So that was good. My one was what was my one?
And who's the worst as well? We need to know
I'll
that.
think of that. But my one, I sang "Follow Me," Uncle Cracker.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was quite easy. The worst one, probably one of the German ones because they sang in German. So
Oh, that's a
couldn't really
nightmare,
get
isn't
it.
it?
Yeah,
Not ideal.
yeah, but I think we've had one recently that was pretty bad, which was oh no, oh no. It probably took about 2 minutes to start. The song
Really?
started and he couldn't get his words out for
Oh,
about 2
wow.
minutes.
Just nerves.
But he ended up being quite good. So yeah, it was a weird
Okay.
one.
We're talking about that training camp, and we're fairly cushy in here tonight.
Mm.
I feel like we've really bonded with this space. You were flying Ryanair, weren't you? I was
Yeah.
on that flight.
Yeah,
Leg
we were.
room was limited.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, I don't know why. Well, obviously, it's quite documented the club's cutting back and stuff like that.
But you must have thought, we really have hit new lows now with Ryanair flights.
Yeah, we travelled to Stansted and went on Ryanair. It was good.
It keeps them grounded,
Yeah,
Jack.
yeah.
Well, it certainly does you that. But,
Get them on the club cabbage, that's what I say.
I wouldn't put anyone through that. I wouldn't put my worst enemies
Yeah.
through that.
Definitely not.
I want to stick with the goalkeepers. Let's talk about the future of goalkeepers.
Yeah.
You're a local boy.
Mm.
We've got some other local boys coming through. Remy Matthews from
Yeah.
the finest coastal town in probably England, Great Yarmouth.
Sorry, before you line up this question, what are your honest thoughts on Great Yarmouth? Because this is a hot topic.
I don't actually remember ever going there or being there, so I can't comment.
There's a reason for that, Jack.
Well, if
Well,
you
I
ever
think
want to
I-
trip
I
to the
think-
Pleasure Beach in the summer, Angus,
Yeah, I think I should go probably before the end of the season, to be honest.
definitely.
I'll take you to the casino. How
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah,
We'll do it.
yeah, I think that's probably the best place.
Anyway,
to go.
sorry, Jack.
Remy Matthews, Aston Oxborough,
Yeah.
two local lads, Norwich through and through.
Mm.
Good keepers.
Yeah, very good. I think obviously Remy's been on loan a couple of times at Hamilton and now Plymouth. I think he's doing really
Plymouth
well.
fans want to keep him. I'm slightly worried, actually. He's
Yeah.
loving it down there, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I think that's obviously a positive thing for Norwich
Yeah.
and him, and I think they've got a chance of getting playoffs. I think so. That'll be good for everyone to see. Hopefully, those games are on the TV. So obviously the Norwich fans will be able to see, and obviously Aston's been doing well in the 23s this year. So that's another positive for the club. I think obviously he'll probably end up doing probably what Remy's doing this year and getting some experience, hopefully, and probably. Kicking on from there, really.
And his journey has been similar to you. Kind of got into the England setup quite early doors. Norwich boy, came through the ranks, started as an outfield player. Do you see a bit of you in him?
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, he's big like me. He's
He is a big lad.
yeah. And he's. I think when did he get into the England setup?
He was about 16, yeah.
16, 17. So I think for any sort of Norwich player to get into that setup, it's it's a massive thing, and it's a tough thing to do. So I think him and obviously Toddy, they've done well. When they was sort of that age, and hopefully they can sort of kick on next season and become Norwich City first team players.
What's that? Has that journey changed from being a young player to sort of developing into the first team? From although you're only a few years older than them, time moves very quickly in football. Has that journey changed? Has it got harder? Has it got easier?
I'm not sure really. Obviously the academy system's changed a little bit. The reserve thing's sort of gone, and it's under 23s now, which is I don't really know what the difference is, but I think main thing is for the players to be getting experience. Probably on loan. I think that's a big thing. Obviously, the club has been quite good with that recently. With a lot of the younger lads going out on loan and getting experience. I think that'll put them in good stead for next season. Probably coming back into the team. The likes of Ben and Carlton, I think they've been had a great season. So I think they'll be coming back into the squad next season. I would have thought, and the other younger players who've not done that yet probably do the same thing as they've done.
Chris, any other questions?
Um,
There was a haircut question there, wasn't there?
yeah. Who cuts your hair? Where'd you get your hair cut, Angus?
I mean, it's a nice trim.
I already know the answer.
Yeah, I think.
Can you tell we go to the same barbers?
You're
I don't know. Who cuts your hair?
Who cuts yours?
Dean.
Of course, you have the owner, don't you?
Dean.
He's VIP. He gets the owner.
But I
You got a bit really early though. He's very busy.
He is. He's a busy man, isn't he?
Yeah.
No wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been complimenting Russ on his fade into his beard this season.
Yeah.
Who's got the better beard? Because competition's quite high in the ranks. There's some lovely facial hair going on at the moment.
Yeah.
You must rate yourself quite highly.
Yeah, I think so. I
can't believe you
remember.
just asked that
Obviously,
question.
Russ has got a nice beard and a nice trim. I can't think of too many others who've got a
I think Russ probably gets
decent
most improved.
combo. Yeah. Yeah, because I think he used to be pretty clean shaven.
Yeah, he did, and it's developed quite nicely.
Yeah, I think it's sort of the in thing now, isn't it? So a lot of the guys
Do you see yourself as stylish, Angus?
Not really. I just can't really. To be honest, I can't really be bothered to shave it. That's probably the main thing. And when I have shaved it, I get laughed at. So
Okay.
So yeah, I just got to keep it now. I think.
I need to bring up James Maddison. Is he your player? Are you allowed to vote in player of the season, by the way?
I don't know. I guess so. It's online, isn't it?
Okay. But you
I'm
going to
not
vote?
No, probably
Oh.
not. I might do. If you,
Who would you vote for?
yeah, probably matters this season. Obviously,
You would?
Not
yeah.
yourself?
No.
You can't vote for
Yeah,
yourself.
you
Why?
Come
I
on.
think that's illegal, isn't it?
I'd be voting for myself if I was in there.
So James Maddison. Just
Yeah, but you can't really get away from it. Really, he's probably been the outstanding player for us this season, and some of the goals he's come up with have been a joy to watch from behind really. And I think he's gone from strength to strength and got into the 21s, and he's doing well. And whatever happens next season, I think he'll always be grateful to Norwich for sort of giving him the first opportunity that he's got in the Championship, and he's taken it pretty well.
you've told him he's staying, right?
I've not told him
You
anything.
need
yet.
to.
I
You
can
need
tell
to
him.
tell him.
Tell him that everyone wants him to stay. Yeah.
You need to say. Chris and Jack say you better stay.
What you should maybe do, Chris, instead of the clean sheet Nando's did with Angus this
Oh,
season,
yeah.
maybe a goal.
a free kick every time you score a free kick.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to be costly
Yeah,
as well.
I mean
though.
that would be worth. Yeah, but he'd stay for that, wouldn't he? Definitely.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he does like Nando's.
Does
Ah,
he?
does he?
Yeah.
And what
Perfect.
sauce is he then?
Don't know. Couldn't tell you.
You can't be spreading them vicious rumours
I
about.
couldn't tell you, but he's probably. I reckon he's a spicy kind of guy.
Wow.
I think I'm probably one of the. I like plain stuff, so
Okay.
most of the other guys I think would probably go spice.
Angus, the last thing I want you to do, I think we've asked all the questions we want. I want you to look down that lens and send a message to the Norwich City fans. We've got.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. What are you? Is there one thing that you'd say to Norwich fans?
This is your 30 seconds to deliver one of the most
I don't know if I
heartfelt
can talk
messages.
for that long.
Yeah, I agree.
10 seconds.
So, yeah.
Keep it short and simple. I know you're concise.
No, I disagree, Jack. Let's put him well on the spot.
You can't time it. I think you just got to roll with it. haven't you?
Yeah, go on then. you
Roll with it.
So
There's a lot of Norwich City fans watching this.
yeah, how do I start this one off then?
I think you should. I mean, this season,
Yeah. Okay.
support,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Over to you.
This season, the support from you guys have been unbelievable. I think we've had some ups, some downs. We've had great results and some pretty awful results as well. But you've obviously stuck by us through everything, and you're still singing "On the Ball City" before the games, and all the players feel your affection, and we just want to thank you for this season, and hopefully we can repay you in the next sort of 6 games, and hopefully we can get 6 wins before the end of the year.
That's got to be a bit emotional.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I can see you tearing up.
Yeah.
And on that point, we're going to end things. Angus
Yeah.
Gunn, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Top
For,
banana.
Thank you very much.
didn't bring any
for having me.
food.
No.
Russ didn't either.
So
You did bring a lovely England shirt.
Yeah.
So for that, we can only thank you.
Yes. Picture will be there.
Angus Gunn, thank you so
No
much. Thank you for watching. Hit subscribe, hit like, and if you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Goodbye.